Hello, hello. Tommy Taylor's already here. Yeah, hi. Okay, let me post the auction. I started early because I didn't want to sit here for 10, 20 minutes. Yeah, if I don't do things really early, I become really late. That's the ADHD. All right, so I'm going to make the auction public. Yes. Yeah. And we'll wait for everybody. We've already got 5 viewers. That's amazing. All right, let me make the auction public. I've already created the video and all that. Yes. Let's edit this. Okay. There's a bunch of buttons I need to push to get these things posted. Ross is here. Hello, hello. I'm on my phone. Let's see. Unlisted, now public. Right? Yes. And then save. All right. The auction is now public. So it's a video. You bid in the comment section. And at 9 p.m. Eastern time, I declare the winners. Or starting at 9:01, I start declaring the winners. Okay, it's not a live auction. I just post a video and you bid in the comment section. All right, so the first hour of the auction is chat. It's a 2 hour live stream. Did I say first hour of the auction? First hour of the live stream is chat. Second hour of the live stream is napping and chat at the end. Okay, so if you want to see napping, come back in an hour because I'm not going to do any napping the first hour. If you're new, you need to know that. Yes, you do. What will I be napping? Just in case you're still here wondering what I'm going to nap, so it's worth your money for something you're going to watch for free. These are what I call road rocks. They're not that big. They're bigger when I do this. These are flint, chert, whatever Texas rocks that I find sometimes on the side of the road in special locations when there is construction going on. Luckily, a couple of years ago, there was some road construction in the heavily flintized area of this road, and friends of mine and I were able to pick up a bunch of these. They're small nodules, but they're excellent chert. And some of these qualify as flint because I think it's chalky. Yeah. Central Texas, Edwards Plateau, flint or chert. That's what this is. But it's not Georgetown. Okay. There's a difference. I call it road rock. Okay, that's what I'll be napping. I gave you the background on it because some people want to know as much as possible about the types of rocks, even though they probably will never nap that type. Okay, but hey, I want to satisfy the inquiring minds that want to know. Yeah, because I enjoy it. Yeah, same reason when I do live streams and videos. Inquiring minds want to know this stuff about flint napping and various other primitive skills things. So I enjoy doing these kind of informative videos, and I'm going to kind of cool it on the goofing around on the regular videos and goof around mainly on the live streams. All right? And you can interact in real time, and everything is cool and good. All right? I got a new camera, so hopefully the videos will not be grainy like this in the near future. However, I'm preparing to go to a nap in Texas in a couple of weeks. So I probably won't be able to spend time messing with the new camera until after I get back from that nap in and visiting my family in Texas. Yeah, almost almost everyone in my family is in Texas, right? Everyone except one daughter. One daughter is in New Mexico, not far away. No, two daughters are not in Texas. One is in New Mexico, one is in Arkansas. There we go. Everybody else is in Texas. Yeah. And all my buddies are in Texas. Yeah. and hopefully I can visit more than once a year. I'm going to try to make it to as many nap-ins as I can in 2026. So there's two nap-ins that I want to go to in Texas. Same one, just spring and fall. And I want to go to the Flint Ridge nap-in. There's two of those, spring and fall. I want to go to the all the Letchworth nap-ins because that's closer to me than anything else. There's four of those per year. So that's my schedule for next year. I want to go to the two nap-ins in Texas, same place. The two nap-ins in Ohio, Flint Ridge, Coshocton nap-ins in Ohio. I know there's more than that in Ohio as far as nap-ins go. And then all the Letchworth nap-ins. Hey, look at all this activity. Ferdo Joe Bushy's here. And I need to go visit Bushy on my way back from Texas. So I'm going to be back before Halloween. So just heads up, Bushy. I'm going to come visit you on my way back from Texas sometime before Halloween, like the week before Halloween, if it's okay. Tommy Taylor says, Ferdo Joe. Okay, everyone say hi. I'm at my granddaughter's volleyball game. I'll catch you later. Okay. Family is important. Yes, yes. Chief Crushcore, what's got you all the way where you are now instead of Texas? You're in Virginia. No, I'm not. I'm in Vermont. Yeah. It begins with a V. Yes, but it's not. I'm not in Virginia. I'm in Vermont. Yeah, in my dad's old house. Well, actually, my dad had two houses. This one and a bigger one in New Hampshire. Now, the bigger one in New Hampshire got sold to my, let's see, my uh, my step niece's husband. Yeah. So this one here is a much smaller house that he moved into as he got older and retired. And it's actually a actual tiny house. The footprint is only 16 feet by 16 feet. That's it. And that's where I am in right. That's where I'm sitting in a tiny house right now. And this room is three rooms in one: the living room, the office, and dining room. And now studio, film studio. I've got this artificial backdrop. It's a vinyl photography backdrop. It's not real stone, although I wish it was. And then there's another room back behind this, which was the bedroom. Now it's my shipping and craft room. And then I've got my kitchen right there, and then the bathroom right behind it. So I just gave you a virtual tour without being able to see my house. And out front, I got a little bitty porch, and skunks come to visit. We've got a bunch of skunks in this town that I'm living in, and they're all very used to humans. Yeah, pretty much. And most of them have a lot of white fur. I don't know if that has to do with the interaction with humans. Humans tend to feed the pretty looking skunks, I guess. And the ones that are mostly dark fur, not so much. Maybe. But yeah, we've got a lot that have very white fur and some that have completely white fur on their backs. No dark spots at all. There's a couple like that come around. And interesting. They're interesting. We have gray fox that come around. And there is a groundhog in my backyard, but I hardly ever see that one anymore. I used to see it when it was a little baby. It'd come out. I guess when these animals are young, they're a little bit more brave. But now I don't see it anymore. But I know it's back there because I see it munching on stuff. And luckily, I'm not into gardening, so I haven't had much damage in that respect. I do have pumpkins, I do have raspberries, and I do have some chives and garlic and stuff like that. But some of it's left over from when my stepmom used to garden. They just come up every year. Uh, Chief Crushcore says, I was close. And dadgum, you aren't kidding. That is some smaller living quarters, But hey, you got a porch, room, and a kitchen and skunks. Sounds like you're set. I'm all set. And I got trees. Oh man, finally have real trees to look at every day. And winter. Oh, I was in Texas for way too long without proper winters. And there's only two temperatures in Texas where I used to live: warm and hot. Okay. Ross says, Patrick, I've been filming my napping and trying to get some content. I do need to get some editing apps. Yeah, I do too. Yeah. Mike Mason, hey, oh, Tommy Taylor is here. Oh, yeah. I keep forgetting. He's one of the first ones. Who was the first one today? Tommy Taylor. Yes. Sorry, there's no door prizes other than maybe a little golf clap when you guys come in first. So the first hour is chat. We've got 16 viewers. Up to half of my viewers, I found out on these live streams are new viewers. So if you want to see Flintnapping, you come back in the second hour. This is a 2-hour live stream. Okay. If you want to see only napping, come back in the second hour, because this is chat for the first hour. It's questions or anything you want to talk about. I'll talk about current events as long as it doesn't get into politics or religion too much. Maybe a little, but not too much. And then whatever else comes up. Sometimes we talk about hunting, sometimes fishing, sometimes I see you guys talking about cars or musical instruments or playing fiddles or guitars or whatever. It doesn't matter. What the first hour is just a free-for-all and goofing around in many cases. Bill Hansen is here. And most of these guys are regulars. And there are some inside jokes you might not get if you're new. You might have this in the background as kind of like a podcast, which is fine. That works. I was thinking of doing podcasts, but these are just as good, I think. Well, with a better microphone, I suppose it'd be good. Jim Cooper's here. My cabin is 2.5 rooms, no door between the small kitchen and my bed and dining room. Yeah, there's no doors at all on the inside of this tiny house. It's all open. There's just this wall right here separating it, and there's a closet on that side. Instead of facing the bedroom, though, it's facing the kitchen. It's weird. What I'm going to do is I'm going to modify this space and get rid of that closet. And what I'm going to do is use one of those large armoires or something they call them to store my clothes in. Yeah. And convert that, what is a closet now, into a space that would contain a pantry and maybe an oven, a wall-mounted oven, and change my current oven over there in the kitchen into gas instead of electric. I want a gas range. So I don't mind having an electric oven, but I want gas right there in the kitchen. I'm going to do a lot of modifications to this house probably after this year, because I don't have time this year. Heavy frost here on Saturday. Oh, you got heavy frost? We got a very light, maybe an hour's worth of freezing temperature on Saturday. That was it. Sunday morning. Mike Mason says, so Patrick, I am thinking of trying aluminum for an Ishi stick next opportunity I get. Will 3/8 work well? No, it doesn't work well, but it will work. I think what works better is 1/2 inch. And then you taper the end of the aluminum down to whatever you want, 3/8, 1/4 inch. That's what I did. I start with a 1/2 inch aluminum, and then on the sander or grinder, I taper the tip to the diameter I want. And you can do that on both sides. One side can be 3/8, and then flip it over and grind the other side down to a 1/4 inch. Keith Callahan, Keepers, good evening, Patrick and fellow nappers. Yes. So the auction has been posted. If you're new, there is an auction on my channel every Monday, and I just made it public. So you should be able to see what I have available this week. Again, there's not much, and I'm getting to the habit of only putting up 5, 6, 7, 8 items, not more than that. I used to try to get 15 items a week. Those were the days where I tried to nap every single day. Nowadays, I only nap 2 or 3 days a week. And there's two reasons. One, I nap better when I'm not forcing myself. And number two, I'm worried about the dust. Too much dust every day. It might not affect me until I'm 90 years old, but I don't want to be 90 and still alive and not be able to breathe right because of silicosis. So I've got to take it easy on the napping as far as silicosis goes. I've got some filtration ideas on the air filtration this winter. I'm going to get a proper respirator mask. When I'm not on video, I can wear that. And I've got air circulation ideas to bring in air and push air out of that shop. Because last winter, I was completely enclosed. And I hope I didn't do myself damage. Although I did wear masks when I wasn't on video. I noticed this summer as I was cleaning out that shop that there was a thick layer of dust, relatively thick compared to other years. So I've got to make sure I don't do that again this winter. Let's see. Mike Mason says, I almost made a powder point today. Speaking of dust, made a birdie instead. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I like making powdered points once in a while because it's highly relieving of the frustration. I snapped a point this morning, and that frustrated me because it was excellent material. Some of the best material I've ever napped. It was like a heat treat jasper. And I was almost done. And I said, just a couple more flakes for this notch, and then snap. It was supposed to complete a set of 3. I was supposed to have a set of 3 points instead of that doubles that I have. I have an item in the auction that has 2 arrowheads in it. I was going to make that a rounded 3. I like having 3 sets of 3 offered in the auction if I do a set. But it broke. Just as toward the end, I only had like 10 minutes to go on it. And I had already worked on it for an hour. You know, it takes longer to match points. In case you don't know, if you want to do a matching set, it takes longer to do a matching set than 3 points doing whatever. Yeah, dang, Jaspers can be so pretty. Yeah, and this one was kind of a greenish brown. How can I describe that one? It was a brown jasper, kind of like a lighter colored rainy buttes is what it looked like. It was nice. Anyway, I think it'll be in the brokes and bifaces eventually when I accumulate enough brokes. Gary Reed is here. Hello, hello. It says Don Reed, but his name is Gary. Yeah, he's sneaky that way. Red-Eyed Patriot, Michael is here. Yeah, old Snapperoonie with the cheese. Yeah. Yeah, Snappiola pudding. I call it Snappiola pudding. Keefers says, Patrick, I watched the 3 videos you did over the weekend you just posted, and the explanation of ridges and how you set up to attack or run a flake really opened my eyes. Great job. Cool. I'm glad it helped. So the explanation of ridges and how you set up to attack or run a flake. Okay. Cool. I'm glad that worked out. Sometimes, I worry that I'm going to explain something that I think is correct, and then I'll come out with different words. I don't usually review the whole video. I review parts of the videos. In this case, I filmed it all in one video, and then I broke it up into 3 parts with the editing software that I have. So I had to figure out where I was going to break it apart. But that's the extent of my editing on that one. So I didn't re-watch the whole thing. Sometimes I rewatch the whole thing, but this time I didn't. I'm breaking my videos now down into separate segments like I used to, 20 to 30 minutes segments, sometimes up to 45 minutes if I don't want to break the mojo. Yeah. Tommy Taylor says, Jesse, I just watched your biface of Silver Obsidian. It's going to be nice. I got to watch that one. Jesse is here. Hello, hello. Jared is here. What up? Hello. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're starting to fill in pretty good. Now, you'll notice the video might be grainy because I'm filming off of my computer's camera. So it's not your feed. It's not you. It's me. I'm using an inferior camera. I do have a better camera, and I'm going to be investing in better lighting, although I did spend some money on this lighting. But I had some of these components already. But I'm going to be investing in better lighting. I've got a better camera, and I'm going to invest in some editing software. And yeah, it's an investment because I don't want to buy the cheapy stuff. Hopefully, these will be better. Now, I can do better looking videos if I'm outside. We're using natural lighting, but I can't be depending on natural lighting, especially the weather here in Vermont is changeable, and sometimes it rains. Sometimes the neighbors make noise because I'm within a city, or they call it a village, but everyone's so close together here in the village that it sounds like a city with all the neighbors' noises. Anyways, I'm hoping to improve the quality of the videos. Yeah. Brennan says, smash that likey button and don't be afraid to subscribe, new dudes. Yeah. Some people are afraid to subscribe because you don't know. They say, I don't know about that guy. That Jack guy sometimes posts weird videos. Yeah. I think that they're afraid to subscribe because you never know. I'm a loose cannon sometimes. Mike Mason says, I have a video. I have to upload a video later. No napping in it, though. I see. Jim Cooper, Patrick, how is the backlog list of projects? Are you making progress? Yeah, I'm making progress. Yes. I'm trying to think. I can't put a percentage on it. Yeah. I got a lot of the little projects that were easy out of the way, but I still got 2 major projects that are taking me years to finish. Yeah. And it involves complete bow and arrow sets with quivers. I haven't even made my own bow and arrow set for this year's hunting, so I don't know what I'm going to do. All the other little projects are mostly done. And I've got, I don't know, I've got a couple solid weeks of napping to do outside the auction. So I'll be napping probably every single day until I leave for the nap-ins in Texas. I'll be napping every single day until I leave. So that's like 2 solid weeks of napping every single day, 7 days a week, just to get those projects done and the auction items done. I got most of my materials that I needed. That was the hardest part, is getting the materials I need to finish those napping projects. Mike Mason says ratio is measure base width to thickness, right? The ratio is just the width to thickness at a certain point on the point. What happens is I usually take the widest portion of the point and measure the thickness there at the widest. So I measure the widest point, or the portion, the widest portion. It might be the base, but it might not. It might be up on the blade, or it might be across the barbs. And then at that widest point is where I measure the thickness. That's how I do it. So I get the width to thickness ratio. Keith says, or Keithers, I was going to ask you last week if you ever did another video explaining if you could take a small thin Sharpie and draw out your plan of attack and see what actually happens. Yeah, I haven't done a video like that. I know there's other nappers that have done that. Yeah. That just delays the. I haven't done that because it delays the whole process. If I have to take a marker and mark out what I'm planning to see how close I get to it, to what I'm thinking, I can tell you right now it's never going to be correct. Unless I'm working on something that demands precision, like a Cody point. Okay. Cody complex points like Edens and Scottsbluffs. You have to plan out each flake, and you can draw out what you're planning and get pretty close, because that's your goal, is to get really close to what you're planning. On other points, you don't have to do that. You can just live with what you get, because what you're going for mainly is the outside shape and the thickness, not really looking at flake scars. So I don't really look at flake scars, other than I like the bold, wide flakes, but they're never what I'm planning on. Sometimes they're exact, sometimes they're way off. I never plan on getting exact, and I never plan on being way off, but that happens a lot. Anyways, yeah, that's why I don't draw out flakes that I'm planning on getting. And I haven't done a video like that, and I don't plan on doing a video like that where I draw out what I'm planning the flake to be. Although I could do that. It just seems to me to be a kind of a waste of time and explanation. Because let's say that I make a video, as an example, with my luck, I'll make a video and I'll plan everything out, and I won't even get close, right? And then you'll think to yourself, okay, I remember Jack did a video where he planned everything out and didn't even get close. So that's the way napping must be always. No, I would have to do like 10 videos of me planning out flakes and then showing you that sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it's kind of in between. Like one stage, I can plan it nicely. Second stage, it just messes all up. And then the final thinning, it works out. And I have to break these down into stages so people will understand. Yeah, it's variable. Sometimes he gets it right, sometimes he doesn't. Depends on the stages, and some stages are not ever consistent. Blah, blah, blah. That's the kind of understanding I want you to have. But if I don't do 10 different videos on the subject, you'll go to that one video and it'll either be, yeah, I predicted everything pretty good, or I didn't predict anything at all, or I got a mix. So you got to keep that in mind too. That's why I think it's a waste of time. Let's see. Mac Bales is here. Hey, Terry G is here. Patrick, he's from Vancouver Island. Awesome. It's starting to fill up. We got 24 people, and it's not even 11 minutes into the live stream. Let's see. Mike says, hi, Terry. Okay. Red Eyed Patriot says, item numbers 3, 4, and 5 are awesome. Patrick, are all fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. I'm trying to include an Ishii point in every auction because I need to get good at making those with the narrow entry notching. Yeah, Gary says the box of preform should bring some good lunch money. Yeah, some good gas money for my trip. Chief Crushcore says, I got to take off, guys. Y'all take it easy. All righty. Peace. See you later. Mike Mason says, I asked about ratio in the community, but no one answered. It looks like I did a 9-to-1 after all. It's a biface, and I'm hesitant to go forward, snapping it too many right now. Yeah, just notch it. Sharpen it and notch it. If you don't even need to notch it. We don't need no stinking notches on most of these. Let's see, Keith or Keefers, do you or have you ever explained the different points, such as the Cody point you just mentioned? Yeah. Yeah, I've done that. I guess maybe not very clearly. If you look, I have a video on the Cody point casts, maybe. If you want me to get out the casts that I have right now, I can get those out and explain it. Danny Morris says it's hard enough just ending up with a point you started out to make in the beginning. I got a super chat. Keith Ricketts is here. Super chat, $5. Thank you. Comment is, I never make what I plan to make. No matter what I plan, it always ends up a marble. You should start planning on making marbles. That way you can say that you reached your goal. Danny Moore says it's hard enough yet. Hey, what is this? Another super chat? Danny Moore, $10. Thank you. Gas money. Awesome. Yes. It takes me, the GPS is 28 hours and it's like $10 an hour for gas. Something like that. Depending on the price of gas, yeah, but it's been pretty steady. I'm not going to take my van this time. I'm taking my Jeep, and the Jeep gets better gas mileage, so hopefully it's a little bit less than $10 a mile, or $10 an hour. I mean, hopefully it's less than $10 an hour. Yeah. Anyways, it's expensive for me to go to Texas, relatively speaking. Hey, Sal's in the house. I've only made a few things that I plan to make. Everything else is just making nice preforms. I see. Yeah. Awesome. Look at these super chats. Sal says, hi, guys. I have a pulled groin. It takes a while to heal. Ah, that's terrible. I'm lucky I've never had that. Yeah. Yeah. K Money's in the house. That's Keith. Peter Cohn, I'm here. Yahoo. Yay. Let's see. We need to get Keith a slingshot. Yeah, that way he can at least use those marbles for ammunition. AA Ron is here. Howdy, nappers. I hope everyone is doing good. Yeah. Hopefully everyone's not so depressed because of the news, the latest news, or recent news anyway. All right, let's see. Mike says, now I've seen the ball bearing shooting bow get him into advanced stuff for his advanced primitive marbles. Oh yeah, get a stone shooting bow. Yeah. Danny Moore says Sal pulled his favorite muscle. Yeah, that's funny. Luckily, you don't pull that muscle. Yeah, you guys are funny. So, I'm not going to do a video on what I'm planning on doing. Although I've made a bunch of points to spec to match exact specifications, but that pretty much the rule is that doubles the time it takes you, and almost doubles the material depending on what material you're working with. If you're working with a difficult material that's exotic, that they want something like a customer wants something made of flint ridge and it's got all kinds of imperfections, but they want flint ridge and they'll pay anything. Basically, they say, just make something out of flint ridge and just tell me how much I owe. Doesn't matter. You're like, dang, okay. So you start making them and you break a bunch of stuff. So you don't make that much on the they don't make that much because the material costs, one, and also the time it takes. You have to put everything aside too. If you're doing side projects, they become the priority and everything else gets put aside, and I can't be doing that. I used to think that I could handle it. I can't handle it unless it's the only thing that I do from the time I wake up until the time I go to sleep. Let's focus on side projects, and then whenever I have free time, I'll do auction stuff or videos. It clashes. And I can't, like I've said before, I can't do side projects on video because the videoing itself increases the chance of breakage. When I'm doing a video, it increases the chance that I'm going to break what I'm working on. I cannot have any increase in breakage if I can help it. When you do side projects or projects to a specification, you have to try to eliminate everything that can induce breakage. That means you can't be in a bad mood. You got to get plenty of sleep. You can't let anybody call you on the phone. You cannot have any other thing interfering, like doing a video on it or being distracted by whatever. You got to make sure that you're not interrupted. Now, the funny thing is, when I have perfect conditions like that, guess what I want to do instead of napping? I want to go sleep. Yeah, yeah, that's my favorite hobby is taking naps. And that's been that way for my whole life. You might think, well, that's because you're getting old, dude. You get old, you want to nap all day, sit in your rocking chair and doze. No, I've been like that forever. My favorite hobby has always been taking naps. So Peter Cohn says, which news are we talking about? We're not talking about any news yet. Is there, let's see, I'm trying to think, is there a lot of different kinds of bad news recently? Let's see. No. Let's see. I'm reading through the chat. I'm not going to repeat everything. You guys are funny. Yeah, napping instead of napping. That's what I tend to do when the conditions are perfect. I go, wow, it's such a nice day. I feel so great. No interruptions, no phone calls. I don't have anything. I mean, I set aside everything that's going to interrupt me. Perfect for sleeping. Yeah. What are we napping today? Patrick says, Sal. We're napping some road rock, Texas road rock, Central Texas, and it's chalky, so it can qualify as a flint. I've done these before, right? But I think people like these rock to point videos, so I'm going to try to do like a rock to point, except I'm going to be using mostly like 99% percussion, very little pressure. If I do finish a point on video today, there'll be very little pressure flaking. But yeah, it's Texas road rock, Central Texas, Edwards Plateau, translucent type stuff, chalky cortex. So it can qualify as a flint, but I don't consider it a flint because it's a lot of times these road rocks are bad in the middle. Yeah, they've got terrible centers on them. So the good stuff is on the outside. So I'll be skinning these, and I might make something out of the skin, but you never know. I might be able to maximize and develop a biface of approximately that size. Maximize so you can get a biface of that size. Yeah, material is Texas Edwards Plateau Church. Walmart rock. Yeah, I wish. Road rash rock. Haha. Graylin is here. Hello from Southwest Louisiana. Yeah, I'm gonna get some sweet flakes from these. Yes, I am. They're about the same size. I've got a bunch of these actually. I found I thought I only had one bucket of these. I've got 3 buckets of these. Yeah. Various sizes. So I got a couple that are pretty big size. So I found those last week, and I finally brought the buckets down into the basement here. So now I can see them. I've got most of my rocks now in the basement down below. We do have a basement here, but it's a small, it's like a crawl space, 4 feet basement, 4 feet tall, right? It's just a, I don't know what you call it. It's not actually a crawl space because it's pretty, I mean, 4 feet is enough that you can crouch down and get around by crouching down. Um, but yeah, having them in the basement is much better than having them in my storage unit. Sometimes I can't access my storage unit in the winter because it gets snowed in and the door gets stuck with ice on the bottom. I can't open my storage unit because of the ice and snow. So, but if I have them in the basement, I can get to them and I can lay them all out. I cleaned everything else out of the basement, everything. And now it's only rocks down there. And it's half full. Half of the basement now on the floor is full of rocks of different types. And some of it's even getting stacked. Even so, I can lay it all out. I don't want to bleed into the second half of my basement because I want that for lumber storage. I'm going to build another shed back there. Now I need to store my lumber somewhere. Let's see. Graylin is the crawfish king in the house. Awesome. Count Dracula voice. Not one, but 2, 3 buckets. Tommy Taylor says, I had a crawfish Alfredo for lunch today. Alan Cole is here. What in the wide world of Flintnapping is going on here? Jared, dang, Tommy, that sounds good. Hey, Buckskin NYB or Marty, I made it. Yes, you did. Yeah, so yeah, we can talk about what we had for lunch. What did I have for? Oh yeah, I had. I've been eating pumpkin. Yeah, the pumpkin doesn't make me as itchy as the zucchini. I've been putting different types of squash in with my chicken soup and beef stew. I don't eat anything except meat, but I do cheat. I'm starting to mix in some squash and zucchini, but zucchini makes me kind of itchy. And I also have I've been eating pumpkin, right? I I harvested my first pumpkin a month back or so. I just cut my second pumpkin out of the pumpkin patch yesterday or day before. This is my second pumpkin. It's bigger than the first one. And I have 2 more. They're smaller than this though. And they're smaller than my first pumpkin. But yeah, it's my second pumpkin. And I'm probably not going to eat the whole thing because I cannot have a heavy carb diet. I have to have very little carbs. So I do put in a little chunks of pumpkin, and I can eat summer squash, that kind of thing. Doesn't bug me. It keeps my weight up though. I'm trying to lose the flab around my middle, which is hard in any case. But anyway, cut my second pumpkin out of the pumpkin patch yesterday or the day before, or maybe 3 days ago. Every day is yesterday to me. I don't know when I cut that out, but yeah, I was so happy. And this one's heavy. I don't know if it's because of the size, but it feels heavier than my first one. Yeah. I'm amazed. And it's good. Pumpkins are good. I've never had pumpkin soup until I moved here into Vermont. And it's good. Jared says my last dog would go to town on that raw pumpkin. He loved pumpkin. I miss that guy. Yeah, the skunks like the pumpkin too if I cook it. Otherwise, nothing eats the pumpkin here. None of the wild animals like the pumpkin unless I cook it. And then they gobble it down. Let's see. Yeah, I've got lots of pumpkin seeds now. The last time, what I did was I just put the what was left over from the pumpkin when I carved a couple of pumpkins. I I put some of them out for animals, and then one of them I just threw into the flower bed and just left it, and eventually got all moldy and nasty. And when the spring came, after the winter, the spring came, I could still see some of the pumpkins sticking up out of the flower bed. So I just put another layer of topsoil on top, 2 inches across the whole top of the flower bed or raised bed. And I didn't even notice that that these big leaves that were coming out from the middle where I had put the pumpkin was pumpkin. I didn't know it was pumpkin, but I just let it grow. It grew really fast. And I'm thinking, maybe that's rhubarb or something. I had no idea. Anyway, I did a plant ID and it said summer squash. Okay, let's let it grow. It just exploded out of the raised bed. And then I did another ID and it said pumpkin. Pumpkin? How is this happening? I didn't even try. Yeah, I've had roasted pumpkin seeds. We used to do that in Texas for Halloween or after Halloween. Or, not after, but before, during, and after, we would eat roasted pumpkin seeds. But I've never eaten pumpkin itself. We never did. We had pumpkin pie, but we'd always buy the pumpkin pie mix. Already, the pumpkin pie filling already in a can. Mike Mason says soak them in sea salt water with a splash of vinegar first. I can try that. There's several recipes for pumpkin soup, and I've been waiting to do that. Yeah, I'm gonna do that maybe with this pumpkin here. Yeah, the one that I've got to cut up. The first one is cut up and put it and it's in the refrigerator in pieces. And every once in a while, I'll cut it further down into chunks and stick it in the chicken soup. I eat mostly chicken soup. You're a pumpkin grower now. Yes, I am. I've got some seeds saved up. I know where I'm going to put my next pumpkin patch. It's going to be close to the hill, further back. And that raised bed is going to be taken away. And that's where I'm putting my next shed, right where that raised bed is. Yeah, I'm getting rid of my raspberries or moving them to the hill. I've already moved a bunch of raspberries up to the hill, and they're doing okay. The hill is pretty dry. That's the only problem. So the raspberries didn't do very well up on the hill. So I don't know. Anyway, raspberries, they get too much sugar. I can't eat too many of those. Anyway, the pumpkins are cool. Let's see. Mike Mason says the pumpkins will soften the cell membranes a bit, helping the salt to get into the tissues of the seeds. Hey, Smallzilla's here. Harley, Patrick, we had 2 pumpkins on our porch. They didn't even make it to Halloween. The deer thought they were so yummy. Let's see. Gary says, have you run this idea by the skunks yet? No, the skunks haven't messed with the pumpkin at all. The pumpkin plants. The skunks don't mess with the gardens at all. The neighbor has different raised beds, tomatoes, cucumbers, squash, and he used to have garlic and dill and stuff. But the garlic and I don't know what happened this year. He didn't have any. But he had the tomatoes and the summer squash and the zucchinis and the cucumbers. So he would give me a bunch of stuff. But all those have died back. My pumpkins are starting to die back. Yeah, they don't. After the pumpkin ripens, the leaves just dry up and it looks terrible. So I've got to remove one of the vines. It looks like vines that go across the ground. I'm gonna take one of them out. It's like, I don't know, 12 feet long. Anyways, growing pumpkins is fun, and there's hardly any work at all. The only thing that I need to do with the pumpkins is find something to spray on the leaves to keep the mold off. It was doing well for a while, and then all of a sudden, boom, mold moved in 1 week, covered all the leaves. 1 week prior, they were nice and green, and some were yellowing, which is fine. But in 1 week, they got all covered with this gray mold. And watering them every day helped. But I think that mold grows better in dry weather or something, because it just, yeah. Patrick the Pumpkin Eater, says Mac Bales. Yeah. Patrick Pumpkin Eater. Let's see. Harley says, Patrick, a pointer to share for folks looking to meet other nappers in their area. Email your county's historical societies and museums. I just found out there are 7 nappers in my area. So cool. Okay. Email your county's historical societies and museums. Yeah, we've got a historical society here, and we've got a museum here. Yep. That's an interesting idea. Although I haven't put my name in there as a flint napper. Alan Cole says skunks are carnivores. Mustelid family. Yeah, skunks will actually eat anything. And I've seen them. I mean, I've seen reports that they'll eat little rodents like mice and stuff. And there's been dead mice in the yard. I don't know if the cat's killing them or the skunks are killing them. There's been dead mice in the yard. I didn't notice any last year, but this year I noticed. But the skunks, if I want to make them more friendly, I just get them hooked on granola bars, and they love the granola bars, and they'll come right up to me wanting some granola bars. Let's see. Ask for Corn says you can ask your parish about nappers. Harley says, or Smallzilla says, Patrick, I was also personally invited to a demonstration event to show off my skills on October 13th. Super excited. It's only an hour away, which is crazy to me. It's so close. Bill Hansen says, this is a hysterical society. You guys you guys and me, we're all in a hysterical society. Yeah. Very, very good. That's clever. Let's see. Mike Mason, Little Bunny Fufu is in Patrick's neighborhood. This is not a drill. Hide your mice. I don't understand what that means, but it sounds funny. Yeah. Found 3 dead mice in the yard in the past month. Mm-hmm. And no rats this year. When I first started visiting my dad, I saw brown rats up on the hill and in the neighbor's compost. But this year, I don't see any rats at all. I mean, that was the only year I saw the rats. So something's eating the rats. Hey, JF Baird is here. Hello. Good evening. Yeah, 3 dead mice or 3 blind mice. Same thing. They must have been blind to be caught or something. We used to have a chipmunk in the backyard too, but I haven't seen that one. Let's see. Alan Cole says, for example, even cats will eat bread and granola. Cats are carnivores. Yeah, the gray fox that comes around will eat the granola bars as well as whatever the skunks are eating. The foxes and the skunks eat basically the same thing, except the fox doesn't dig for grubs. right? I don't think. Danny Moore says cat food is mostly corn. Yeah, it's got it's got vegetable matter in it. Yeah. I think the cat food I buy has a lot of fat too, because if you leave it sitting on something that absorbs the fat, you can see how much fat it contains. I don't know what kind of fat is in it. Maybe it's vegetable oil. I don't know. Anyway, they love it. The skunks love cat food and granola bars. They also love chicken bones that have been boiled for a while, and they like anything that I make as far as soup goes. And once in a while, I'll throw out some raw hamburger meat, and they'll eat that too. But it's mostly they like the chicken and chicken bones as far as meat goes. They don't like fresh fruits and vegetables raw. I mean, I can throw blueberries and all that stuff out there. They don't touch. They don't touch that stuff. The skunks don't like fresh fruits and vegetables. Nope. And they don't like certain wheat products. Like I'll buy on sale. They'll sell these boxes of frosted wheats or frosted mini wheats. And I thought, hey, I can just buy a box of this for cheap because it's like half price, much cheaper than granola, and then throw those frosted mini wheats out in the yard, but they don't touch them. There's something that smells funny about those that the skunks don't eat them. The fox will eat those, but the skunks and the possums, they don't touch that type of cereal. We have possums too, but they're very skittish. The possums here. Let's see. Smallzilla or Harley says, Patrick, I emailed you a couple of pictures of my recent points I've worked on, messing with lots of obsidian. How long do you think you'd be able to only use obsidian? Varieties allowed, but only obsidian. How long will it take before I get burnt out on using obsidian? In other words, about a month. Yep. 3 days a week, about a month. I get kind of burnt out, but completely burnt out would take me about 6 months probably of using nothing but obsidian because I like obsidian. It's about the same for any kind of material. If I was to nap, let's say Georgia Chert, Coastal Plains, Flint River, whatever, it would take me about 6 months to get sick of it. Same with Georgetown, same with any other particular material, about 6 months napping 3 times a week. But if I had to do a specific point style or if the napping was a real pain, it would take me about a month. It depends on what I'm working on. If it's just art points, it take me about 6 months to get sick of it. If it's precise or a special project, or I have to do a bunch of matching sets of this stuff, or if it's a challenge type of obsidian that breaks easy, that is really a nail biter every time I make something, it takes about a month for me to get burnt out on that. Let's see. Alan Cole says a great way to give your cat diabetes is to feed them non-meat items. Yeah, I think it's probably the same with skunks. Just don't give a skunk asparagus; it'll make their pee stink. Yeah, one of the skunks that came around a couple nights ago had either sprayed on the way up here because it was stinky, or it sprayed another. They do spray each other a little bit when they get into contests for territory or food. When they're fighting over food, sometimes they get a little rough and they will spray a little bit. One of the skunks was stinky. I could smell it on him as he walked by. So, oh, you're the one that's stinky, because they'll have the spray on their tail or whatever. And yeah, it was close enough to the door and stinky enough that when I opened the door, a big waft came in. Oh man, and closed the door, but too late. It was stinky in the house that day. But other than that, yeah, they don't smell. Let's see. Their scat is outside. There's a bunch of it in little places around. That doesn't smell bad at all. I mean, I can't tell. I do have to pick it up once in a while because they get a little out of hand. Uh, let's see. What are you guys talking about now? Gary, they are tired from racing. Gary says, I see a lot of possums sleeping on the sides of the roads. And Mike says, they're tired from racing. I don't think the possums are sleeping on the side of the roads either. They just look like they're sleeping. They're taking dirt naps. Mac Bales, Keith, asparagus makes my urine smell like horse piss. Yeah. Asparagus does do that for humans. I don't know about skunks. I don't think my skunks will eat any of those vegetables. I've tried already. I used to throw out stuff that my dad wouldn't eat. You know, I'd make a salad or I'd make some vegetables or I'd cook up some stuff. If it was fully cooked, the skunks will eat it. But if it was raw, I used to try to give my dad raw strawberries and blueberries and that kind of thing. Sometimes he'd eat them, sometimes he didn't. When I throw them outside, if he didn't eat the raw strawberries or the raw raspberries or the raw blueberries, the skunks wouldn't eat that at all. But if I threw out like pie filling, apple pies, cakes, you know, those little candies and cakes that my dad would always insist on eating, they would like those. I just got to make sure I didn't give them any chocolate. Let's see. Red-Eyed Patriot says the more white on the skunk, the stinkier it is. You know, I could trap some skunks and then their essence, the skunk smells, the liquid, can be sold. You can sell it by the ounce. So trappers that trap skunks also collect the essence. They call it essence, which is the liquid spray, stinky stuff from the scent glands, and you can sell that. Yeah. What was I was looking at a trapper's YouTube channel, and he had gathered enough essence from his trapping that year to sell his jar of essence for $3,000. Of course, it was a big jar, and I don't know how you could stand the smell, but yeah. I don't know how many ounces it was. It was quite a few ounces. Let's see. Kiefer says, Patrick, it's called a pissing match when the two skunks fight each other. I suppose. Gary says, my son's girlfriend asked one time, why do the raccoons always sleep along the road? True story. Just tell her they're taking a dirt nap. Yeah. Hey, wait a second. Is it a play on words? Yeah, it's a play on words. Mike Mason says, Gary, I had my buddy's gal convinced hedgehog eggs are delicious a week or two ago. She driving had hedgehogs too. Let's see. Same for beavers. Castoreum, says Danny Moore. Yeah, you can save the essence from beavers or the castoreum from beavers and sell that by the ounce. Yep. Yes. Yeah, I'm trying to remember how many skunks have I seen this year. Different skunks. You can kind of tell how many by memorizing the patterns, the fur patterns, but some of them around here are identical twins. So I'm assuming there's between 9 and 11 different skunks that come around in this yard alone. Between 9 and 11 different skunks that I notice are different because of the fur patterns. But we have some regulars, and Muddy is now coming around more often. So we got Mangy Tail, which is always here. He's big and fat now. I think that's the local male Mangy Tail. And then Muddy is a female, I believe. She's almost completely white on her back, but she must be living in a really muddy type den because her fur is always dirty. And then we have Jumpy's babies. There's 2 or 3 of them that come around regularly. And then there's some new skunks. And then there's one with a blue collar. I'm calling that one Blue. I used to call that Blue Collar, but now I'm calling her, I think she's a female too, calling her Blue. Somebody put a collar on her when she was young or something. And those are the ones I recognize that I named. I recognize other ones too, but I haven't named any of those except for one. I call that one Scary. But that one has hardly any white markings at all or any white fur. That one's mostly black. And I can't see that one at night. So I guess that one scared me one night. Almost ran into him or almost stepped on him or her, whatever. Luckily, these skunks around here are very used to humans. And they'll go and they'll back up and they'll do the stomping. They won't spray. Let's see. Jim Cooper says, Mike Mason, it may be interesting to you to know that 2 out of 3 known species of monotremes, egg-laying mammals, are hedgehog-like creatures called echidnas. Okay. I probably didn't pronounce any of that correct. All right, so let me check the auction. I'm going to put likes on all the bids that I see, if there's a lot of bids. Hopefully. Let's see. Switch these out. My eyes are already getting sore from the lights in my face. That's why I had the sunglasses on, in case you're wondering. I'm checking the auction to see how many bids there are, and I'm going to put likes on all the bids. That means I see the bids. I'm having a little trouble with the brain-mouth connection today. What that means is I'm thinking I'm saying something when I'm actually not. I'm saying something different. So I have to listen while I talk more closely than I usually have to. Okay. Why do I mention that kind of stuff? Because you'll notice I'm stumbling over my words in many cases. No, not that button. I'm hitting the wrong button. I want to arrange these comments newest first. There we go. And I'm going to put a like on all the comments, bids, or replies so that you know that I see them. That's how you know that I've seen your bid or your comment or your reply. Okay? All right. Yes, we got at least one bid on every item that I can see so far. Oh, there's a couple items with no bids. Never mind. It's still early, though. Whoa, the box of miscellaneous bifaces has already got a really good bid. Let's see. All right, so I checked the auction. Now let's see what else we got. Let's see. I'm reading these. Platypus is venomous, says Danny Moore. Jim Cooper says, kidnas phonetically. I don't know what that means. Mike Mason, her hedgehogs gave live birth. They had 3 babies when she had them. I see. We had two female skunks this year give birth, and their babies were in the yard. One of them had 6. Jumpy had 6 babies, and then another skunk had 4 babies, and they were all in the yard. For a couple of weeks, they brought everybody. So there was like 2 adult female skunks and all their babies. That was like 12 skunks. just when those showed up, not in counting the other ones that normally show up. So at one time there was a bunch. Now they don't normally congregate, so they didn't like this arrangement. There was constant fighting. This was in early summer, and then eventually I guess they spread out a little bit more. Yeah, Jumpy is fertile. She had six, but they were not shy about eating all the cat food as fast as possible. Yeah, and they would dig up my yard too. Jumpy and Muddy would dig up the yard looking for grubs, and they still somebody's digging up the front yard. The backyard, I guess, doesn't have any more grubs or something, but they're digging up the front yard recently. And what's funny is they'll dig a little hole and get whatever they want, and then the next scum comes along and digs a little bit further down in because they're wondering what's in here, what's in here. And they start digging more, and they go, "There's nothing in here." They leave. Another skunk comes in. Hey, what do they find? Let's see if I can find something in here. So that these little holes get deeper and deeper and deeper. um, let's see. Platypuses are also fluoresce under a black light. Really? I didn't know that. Okay, Jim Cooper says that's how you pronounce echidna. Oh, I see. Cool. I'll remember that for about 10 minutes. So, when am I going to start napping? Well, 1 hour has not passed yet. I mean, it's not the top of the next hour yet. Or top of the next hour. Let's check the auction again. What do you mean check the auction? What's going on? What are you doing? It's a live stream, not an auction. I'm checking on the auction because it's a video on my channel. So you can bid in the comment section on the items in the video. And if I put a like on your comment and you see it as a like, that means I see your comment or your bid or your reply. That's what I'm doing. I'm putting a like on what I can see. That way you know that I see it. Because if I don't see your bids, sometimes I don't see the winning bid or the highest bid, and you get ticked off for good reason. You'll email me saying, hey, I got the highest bid according to what I saw. Why didn't you see it? And then my first response is, did you see a like on your bid? Because if you didn't, I didn't see it. YouTube sometimes is stupid like that. I can't always see all bids. Same with other people. Sometimes they can't see all the other bids or the comments or replies. They can't see those. Sometimes. Hey, no one likes the Scalorn point? Man, pick it up for cheap then. Just bid $2. Yeah. Let's see. It cost me like to ship out a single arrowhead that's very light. It's like $5, $5.50. So bid $5.50. Cover the cost of shipping. If no one else bids on it. Yeah. I'm going to be trying to include more small points in the future auctions so that you can probably pick those up for cheap. And it's fun for me actually to do the smaller points. Yeah, I don't make much money on that, but I do monetize the auction videos after the auction's over, so I do recoup some money from ad revenue. It's not much, but it's some. Yep. Not getting rich off of this stuff. No, I'm going to be putting more time into more channels, so I'm hoping to generate more of my income from the video side rather than making stuff with my labor side of things. I can't always be using my labor to generate income, especially as I get older. And yeah, doing videos is labor too, but it's a different kind of labor. It's a lot less stressful and it's a lot less physical. Especially if I do videos on stuff that's less physical and less labor intensive. I could be doing nothing but talk videos. We'll see. Eventually, maybe. I don't know. Probably if I start doing only talk videos, I would probably get itchy and want to do some craft stuff. I don't think I'll ever stop doing the Flintnapping entirely, but I'm probably going to tone it down or ramp it down as I get older. Anyways, hey, Marty's bidding. He did bid on the Hornstone Scallorn Point. There you go. Let's see. Tommy Taylor just came from looking at the auction. Someone needs to check on Ralph. He must be sick. He's not in the auction. Yeah, but Ralph's been bidding at the last minute lately. I think he's probably watching. He's just not going to bid until last minute. Danny Moore says, hell yeah, I finally got the mallet material and I'll put you another box together. Cool. For me or for someone else? Okay, probably talking to Marty. 30 pounds. Let's see. I missed some chat. Hold on here. Okay, yeah, Marty and Danny are talking to each other. Okay. Surprise headed your way. Let's see here. Mike Mason says, when my grandpa was a kid, he got called to the office at the end of the day. The principal had him close the door behind him, let Gramps sit there nervous, then asked him how many he got. He was digging up skunk dens for pups before school. They all could smell him. Interesting. Let's see. Okay, so I'm catching up with the chat here. I'll be napping here in a second. Let's see. All right. No more questions. If there's no more questions and stuff, I'll start napping. Marty says, I sent you a surprise rock also, Patrick. All right, good. Awesome. Sweet. I like surprise rocks. Cool. Thank you. All right, so it's time to start napping. Yep. We're napping some road rocks. Rock to point. Hopefully, if I don't run into any problems or if I don't get too distracted in the explanations, it can be a rock to point video. Yeah. Okay, so let's get these rocks out. I've got two. And I got two just in case one fails. You never know with these. Okay. And I've got a bunch of light, so hopefully it doesn't get all blurry. I'm going to be doing a lot of bopper work at first. I got some new boppers, solid copper heads on them. These are solid copper. They're not lead filled. This one is a 13.5 ounce. I'll be using that one. That's the largest and heaviest one. Yeah, I got these from flintnapping whole new set. I've been using mainly the 5.3 ounce, but since this is a pretty hefty nodule, I'm going to be using the heaviest one first, 13.5 ounce, and we'll see how it goes. I haven't tried these on nodules yet, but they're pretty heavy. The weight forward is pretty good. It's not as heavy as lead, but they still feel pretty good. All right, so I'm not going to explain exactly what I do because I don't know exactly why I choose a certain spot other than it looks good from experience to start hitting it. Yeah. It just looks good to start right there. It might be nasty in the center. It might be good. I don't know with these. With the road rocks like this, it's hard to tell. Yeah, these they will have defects in them. See, it's got a crack already. I can see it. And that's not just because I hit it there. It's an internal crack because you can see there's some patina on the inside. Some of these are going to be broken up because they were close to the surface. And believe it or not, it does get cold enough in Texas to create ice and snow. And that's enough to break apart some of this stuff. But, figuring out where to hit this to maximize the yield is not easy. There's no formula to it. It's just by experience, you get to know where you can remove a good flake just by experience. There's no formula. It's just, okay, that looks good, but there could be other areas that are even better. But I'm just going to hit there. Ooh, it's an interesting flake. Sounds interesting, too. One of these days, I'm going to make some chimes out of flakes. Anyway, you probably can't hear that because of the microphone. So this is what I mean by interior nastiness. This is very grainy. It's not as good as this stuff here. All right, so I'm just going to continue to nap it. Yeah, and it can be heat treated to make this graininess more like this stuff. But sometimes if you heat treat this too high, the good stuff breaks apart, and this becomes the good stuff. So I nap this stuff raw most of the time, just so I can avoid all those weird things that might happen during the heat treat. Yeah, but it's got internal defects like that one right there. If I can skin off some of that, I can make arrowheads out of, pieces like this. As long as they don't have a crack like that one, I still might be able to make an arrowhead out of that, but with that crack right in the center, it makes it difficult. Let's see if I can get another big flake. I'm not going to be able to get big spalls, but I might be able to get big flakes. Yeah, big flake. Beautiful. That was nice. Okay, and I'm hitting on a surface that doesn't have cortex to get flakes like that. Okay, so this is a nice flake. I might just nap this for the video, but we'll see. We'll set that aside for now, and I'm going to try to get a biface out of this piece. Look at that. Perfect round copper deposit. Let's see if I can get the light to show you. See that? That's where I hit it. Yeah, that's a good flake off of that side. The front part broke off, but see the front part right here. But that's a good flake. It's one of those ones I call a sweet flake, even though it has a little bit of that grainy material on that side. The other side is not grainy at all. So that can be considered a sweet flake, and the surface looks pretty good of this emerging biface. All right, so without talking about it too much, see what else I can do. Yay! This time I did hit on the cortex, and I got that. Yeah, I got that. I hit on the cortex. How about that? Yeah, that's a good flake. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hit on the cortex again. How about that? How about that? It's good. I like it. Mm-hmm. So, what about the other side? I don't know. I have to shape it a little bit better to start taking flakes off the other side. I got to shape the edge a little bit. Oh, gosh. I don't know. Let's just finish taking off big flakes. I got to be careful not to take off too much. This looks pretty good. So this is the center of it now. It looks like the center is good. The center of this Tootsie Pop is smooth. That's a good sign. There isn't a crystal pocket inclusion right there, but it's not bad. It's not bad. Yeah. Sweet. I like it. Let's start thinking about removing flakes from the other side. I got to. Oh, yeah, I didn't measure it. Before I start removing length, let me just see how long it is. I'm starting to remove some length, so before I do that, 5 inches or thereabouts. Let's see how much I can preserve. I'm going to lose a little bit right now because what I'm doing is I'm moving this edge. Hopefully you can see. Anyway, I'll be doing that around the edges. Remove some width and some length. See if I can start peeling some flakes off of this other side. Preparing more than one area so that when I abrade this, I'll have several options, not just one at a time. I'm going to abrade all the way around so I have several options instead of just one option at a time. Yeah, I said that already. I just want to make sure I get the point across. So this is a big old piece of a big old grinding stone, industrial grinding stone. This is not natural material. It's a man-made material. Okay. I gotta kind of get it in a zone here and not explain it or I'll mess it up. So I'll be just getting in a zone trying to skim off this other side. And I can't think about it too much. It usually doesn't work if I think about it too much. I know that doesn't help the new guys. But I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. If I start explaining it too much, it's not going to help you or me. You're just going to have to watch what I do. I like it. So, yeah, I'm trying to get flat flakes and not flakes that are too rounded. But sometimes I can't help it. Too curved. So I don't want to get flakes that are too curved. It's hard to explain. I want to try to maximize the length on the flakes, so I have to hit in areas that seem to be areas that'll yield a flat flake. And the Levallois technique is a good one for that. You get some flat flakes when you do the Levallois technique, or the la technique, as I like to call it, because people can't pronounce the French word. what you do is you take a big flake off the center, and it's usually flat. It's flat when you do that. Yeah, it's flat when you do that. When you do the la la la, yeah. Ah, now I get it. I can do lots of napping now. Hopefully that's helped you enough. Mm-hmm. But I can't get a lot of flakes that way. Just one or two. Everything else is kind of picking at it and generating what I call crud flakes, because most of these I can't use for anything. These are what I call crud flakes. This is what happens when you try to maximize the final biface. You get a bunch of crud flakes because you're trimming a lot. You're not hitting across the surface to generate a big old LV102 flake like this. In most cases. So luckily, the center of this Tootsie Pop was good, and I got to preserve much of this material that was near the cortex. It's more glossy on this side than that side. Okay. I don't know if you can tell how glossy it is on this good side here. This other side's not bad either. Now this is an undetached flake right there. That's not a big deal. Let's see. Ed Gould is in the house. Let's see. Who else is here? I can't see. Anyway, I'm going to try to get as much of this done and as close to a point as possible. The initial stage is done of bifacing. Now it's the preliminary thinning stage. Starting to get more and more difficult. This is the easy part. I guess the easy part is the hardest part to explain because I can't explain how I did that. I just hit where I thought it was good. That's it. So I'm going to use indirect percussion. I used only the 13.5 ounce for all of that. And the damage to the top or to the cap is minimal when it's solid copper. See that? I hit it. I abused it a lot, and it's still very rounded, and it's not dented like it would be if it was lead filled. I like the solid copper. I gave away on my previous ones. I didn't show them much on video, I don't think. I had some solid copper ones, but I quickly gave those away because someone wanted them desperately. Okay. And they didn't have much money to spend, so I said I'll ship them to you, but I'm keeping these, right? So don't ask for these. I like them. I'm gonna keep them for myself. So now is the first stage of thinning, preliminary thinning with the indirect percussion, 3/8 inch copper solid rod. Probably the same type of copper as the bopper, the 110 copper. It feels like the same stuff, but I don't know. I'm not an expert in the materials. I just know if it's good for napping. As far as the copper goes, some copper is better than others. I don't know the names of the stuff that's really good other than the 110. The 110 copper is really good as far as I know. I've never encountered anything better. Some of the copper alloys are harder, comparable to mild steel. But in that case, I'd rather use mild steel because it's cheaper. It doesn't make any sense to buy an expensive copper that's just like steel as far as the hardness. Just might as well buy steel. Much cheaper to get steel tools. So there is a crack in the material here, a very unfortunate crack. Now, I think that's a natural crack. It doesn't go all the way through, but that could present quite a problem. Unfortunately, yeah. We'll see. I'm going to tackle that as I thin down the ends, the tip and the base. I'm going to tackle that and eliminate material around that crack. See if I can nap it away. The first thing to focus on is to thin the ends down. And I'll bounce around depending on what I think is the worst. I'll do the worst first. And that crack on the side there is pretty bad, but I don't consider that the worst right now. And that crack up here, let's see. So I took a flake off right where that crack was. Let's see if I can show you. The crack is here. So I took a flake off just to see if it would be deep, and the crack is still there. So it's pretty deep. Let's see if I can trim more of that. Hopefully it doesn't go down that far. It doesn't go down too far. Still in there. I still see it. All right, so dang it. Okay. It's going to be an issue. It's going to change the shape of the whole thing. We'll see how far it goes. So the crack is right there. I removed this flake beside it, adjacent to that crack. See if that'll smooth it out. It did a little bit. I think I reached the bottom of it. I just needed to generate one more flake right there. See if that gets under it. Let's see. I'm looking for my files so I can make that edge a little bit stronger. Get a little bit better contact so I can generate a flake without too much force. Hitting right on a crack is not that great of an idea. So the less force I have to use, the better. Let's see. I can't see. This is raw stone, so it does eat into the tools quickly. Did I get under it? I think I got under it. Yeah, I don't see it anymore. Okay, so now it's scooped out. It's scooped out on this side, which changes the shape a little bit. But now I can get back to my regularly scheduled programming and do the thinning. Thin out the stem or the base first. That seems to be the worst. Yeah, like that. Yeah, I'm just get into the zone and start to go crazy. Yeah, this area right here with that undetached flake, it looks like it might be a natural defect. I tried to pop that out of there and it didn't pop it out. It took a lot of the edge away. Let's see. Let me get that popped out of there somehow. Hopefully. I suppose that did it, but it's weird in there. Yeah, scooped it a lot too. That's not good. Hopefully that's the last major defect. Is it translucent? Does it have some translucency? I think it does. Let's see if I can get some light on it. Come on. Yeah, it's got some translucency to it. It almost looks like root beer type chert, but it's not. It's not from the area where root beer comes from. I don't think. Anyway, we'll see. It's similar to the coloration of root beer. Yes, it is. All right. I guess you could call it very similar to a root beer chert. It would pass for root beer chert. Yep. If it was a little more red, it'd be perfect. All right, so it's just a matter of me doing the preliminary thinning, setting it up for the secondary thinning. Try to do it as fast as I can. How much time do I have? 20 more minutes. I'm going to try to do it as fast as I can, so it means I might go silent for a couple minutes here and there as I focus. If I try to explain it, it makes it difficult for me to use my muscle memory. That's a nice coast-to-coast flake. Yeah, I try to get at least one of those per episode. Yeah, I like them. Yeah, I like these. Can I make something out of that? Sometimes I can, if it's not too curved. Sweet. It is sweet. Let's see if I can show you the translucency on this one. Yeah, there you go. There you go. It's translucent. Yeah, what's it look like? It looks like a bear. The nose right there. Yeah. That's a bear flake. Yes, it is. Okay. I should keep that light handy for more translucent tests. So let's put this down here. Yeah. All right. So onward and upward. Get my phone out of here so the flake doesn't break the glass on it. What's the length? I don't know. Let's see. It's a good question. I'm glad you reminded me. It's like 4.25. What was it? 5 before? It's 4.25 now. Yeah, something like that. Something like that. Yeah, something like that. All right, so I had to be very careful. Am I done with the preliminary thinning? Almost. Let's a little bit more, and I'll show you. I'll show you what I consider the ending of the first round of thinning, which I call the preliminary thinning. There's 2 rounds of thinning, the way I classify these things. This is the first round, which I call the preliminary. Second round is the secondary thinning. Different mindsets. That's why I separate them, because it's a different mindset. This is still relatively easy, although it takes a lot of experience to get the longer flakes at this stage. It takes even more experience to get the longer flakes on the next stage. I'm trimming now to see where else I can take off some flakes and get rid of the really bad fat spots. I'll let you know. I'm going to finish up the preliminary thinning here in a minute. I'll let you know what stage I'm at on every stage of this operation. Yeah. Let's see. Can you see? I don't know. I should review these, see how well you can see these. The trick is, usually when you can see this really well, I can't. So I got to make a compromise between the lighting that's good for me and the lighting that's good for you. Eventually I'll spend, a solid week or so messing with different lighting arrangements. See if I can get a permanent setup that works for everybody. I got a couple of fat spots I want to get rid of before I call it good on this first preliminary thinning. Ready? Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Where are the other fat spots? Anywhere? Almost there yet. I think I got rid of the major fat spots. One more lumpy area. Yes. Yeah, like that. See, that was a very, very hard hit, and I sacrificed some of the edge. Can't see. Removing that. But I think that's it for the preliminary thinning. All right, so that's the first stage was the bifacing. The second stage is the preliminary thinning. So I already finished 2 stages. There's 2 more to go. The secondary thinning, and then the final finishing. The final finishing includes sharpening, notching, and general symmetry, both side and face. Symmetry from looking at the face, and then symmetry looking at the side. That's part of the final finishing. Okay? When I write my book, I'll have this all outlined, and maybe I'll just do a video on these different stages to explain them in depth, I guess. I don't know. I try to explain it every time I nap. I can start napping on this one also, but I'm going to save this for the next video. The next live stream, I think I'll do this on the next live stream, because this one turns out is good all the way through. There's no concrete in the middle, which is rare. This is a rare piece. Let's see how translucent it's getting. Yeah, it's a rare piece. It's very consistent. And it's got some nice translucency. So as I get it thinner, it gets more and more translucent. Why do I mention that? It's because I like translucency. That's why. Yeah. I don't know if you like it. I don't care. I like it. So I go all the way around, and then I make sure I have no big pieces of flakes and stuff down below. Because if I drop this, I don't want to break the tip off. That's what's vulnerable. With my luck, I've dropped it on the tip many times. It's like when you're trying to, back in the day when I was making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, if you ever drop the bread, it always lands on either the jelly side or the peanut butter side down on the floor. So when you pick it up, half the peanut butter or jelly is on the floor and half of it's on the bread. So when I drop one of these, chances are it's point down and it either breaks the tip off or sticks in the floor or whatever. I've had points stick in the floor, especially if I'm out on the porch. Yeah, just my luck. Yeah, bring out the little file. These Harbor Freight files last longer than other files that I've purchased separately. Is it the set? It comes in a set of like 8 of them or something. I don't know how many. But it lasts longer than the stupid files that I buy like this. These look like they'd be better, but they're not. They wear out faster. They work for like 10 minutes and that's it. Right now, it seems to be working, but it doesn't feel like it's eating into the stone as well as these little bitty files. Yeah. Why do I want the files? It makes the surface smoother, so it makes better contact with the flaker. Although you don't want it too smooth because then it starts to slip. It's that sweet zone between being too slippery and too thin, too delicate. Got to get that sweet zone between those two undesirable conditions. You don't want it too slippery because you ground it too much, and you don't want it too delicate because you didn't grind it enough. Okay. Now, I could use a bopper right now, in case you're curious. I can use a bopper. Some guys are really good at using a bopper during this stage of final thinning or secondary thinning. I'm not. I don't want to risk it. No. So I hardly ever use a bopper during this stage of final thinning. Although back in the day, it looks like some artifacts were done that way. The Native Americans would get to this stage and they would use direct percussion to do the final thinning. Of course, they could have been using indirect as well, but I think they were using direct because sometimes the edge gets all wonky, which is a telltale sign that the accuracy is not that great. And the accuracy is not as good with direct percussion as it is with indirect percussion. That's just physics. Yeah. Although some guys can get very accurate. I haven't been able to advance quickly on that, so I don't do it. If I could develop the skill quicker on being accurate with the bopper at this stage, I would use the bopper more often. But I've tried and my progress is slow, so maybe I'll take a year off and learn how to thin at this stage with the bopper. It would be faster to complete the points, but I don't know if I can get flakes like that with a bopper. Why do I want flakes like that? It just makes a nice bold flake. I like bold flakes all around. I don't like when I see a bunch of flakes. I call it being too flakery. So this is the secondary thinning. It may require a lot of persnickety choosing of the striking areas, preparing edges really, really well. It depends on how it's going. If the stone's not that cooperative, sometimes it requires a lot of preparation to get it to cooperate. sometimes like this stone is being cooperative no matter what, which is rare. Yeah, I like it. Yes, I do. I'm not going to push my luck though, even though it's very cooperative, and I can generate these longer flakes relatively easily. I'm not going to take advantage, or I'm not going to take it for granted. I still got to be really careful. Yep. What does that mean? That means I got to make sure the edge is not delicate. If the edge is delicate when I strike it, it crushes it and it ruins the edge basically. For one, if it's crushed, I can't strike again in that area. I've got to remove it. So it wastes the edge. So I'm being very particular about where I'm taking these flakes, even though the material is very forgiving. I don't want to mess it up. Because even though it's very forgiving, I still might mess it up. Yeah. Oh, yes. I've been known to mess up really good stone. Yep. Just because I start slacking. All right, so here we go. Big flake. Not as big as I was hoping. See, if I had drawn that out, I would have drawn it much bigger than that. Yeah. You might be thinking, well, that's why you don't draw it out, because you don't want to look like a fool. That's what you draw it out. Okay, yeah, that might be it. I don't want to look like no fool. And show you what I think it's going to do, and then it didn't do it. Okay. Yeah, sometimes I get lucky. Yeah. I said, man, I didn't expect that. Sometimes a flake has a mind of its own, depending on the material, and it does stuff you don't expect at all. I don't know. Let's see. I do need to take a big flake here somewhere if I want it thinner. Yeah. The more I'm going back and forth with the grinding and the hitting, the more particular I'm being. I don't like being this particular, but to get flakes like that, I got to be more particular. I wanted that flake. Now, I would not have predicted it going that far, but I needed that flake to thin down the tip. Okay, so the more I'm grinding and the more I'm going back and forth between hitting and grinding, the more particular I'm being. Okay. That was a very hard hit. It did pay off. Yes, it did. It is thinning rather nicely. It is showing me that it's going to be a little bit steppy. The thinner it gets, this material is looking like it's kind of steppy. Yeah. Some material is not this steppy at this stage, but you can tell it's starting to break up and get steppy. Because as it gets thinner, the flakes get thinner. And they may act differently than the thicker flakes. And in this case, yep, it's starting to act a little different. More different than I expect. you expect it to be more steppy as it gets thinner because that's just the nature. That's physics, the nature of the stone. But some of the stone is excessively steppy, and it gets you all anxiety. Yeah, gets you all anxious. At least it does with me when it starts to do that. Dang it. I still get sharp edges around the outside. All right, so are we almost there yet? Yeah, we're almost there yet with the secondary thinning. And it usually stop at about 6-to-1 ratio. All right, so let's see. Here we go. Yes, okay. That one kind of worried me, but it wasn't too bad. Yeah, these are very hard hits, but that was worth it. Yeah, I took a chance on that one. Why was it a chance? It didn't look like it would go that far. Luckily, it went further than I thought. There's still an issue with this. That's my mistake, and I don't know if I can get that out without reducing the width quite a bit. Maybe, maybe not. It doesn't look like it's an easy fix. Yeah, I'll just leave it for now. Get the rest of it thinned down. Yeah. In the couple of minutes I got left. Surprisingly cooperative. Yes, yes. That was not that good. Come on. You can do better than that. It is getting steppy toward the end here. It's getting flatter too, so that doesn't help. But sometimes it doesn't matter how thin it's getting. It can still produce flat flakes. It depends on the material to a certain extent. It can be skill as well to generate flat flakes, but the skill is involved in recognizing how convex it is. Sometimes you can get it to travel with just the right convexity, the minimum amount of convexity. If you're good at spotting just the right convexity, it does help you generate longer flakes. If you study the surface enough, that is one of the tricks, is knowing how to study the surface and make sure there's good convexity. And don't take shots that don't have good convexity. Don't take shots over areas that don't have good convexity. Even though they might look like nice, juicy opportunities. Yeah, like that. That just barely had enough convexity. You can see it started diving at the end of the flake. But I needed that big flake to flatten it and to thin it. But yeah, just barely enough convexity for that long of a flake. I can get rid of the step fracture from the other side. But I can't do that very often. Nope. It's not a good habit to get into. To risk it Anyways, what do I do? What did I do? Almost messed it up for myself. If that had overshot, yeah, I would have messed it up for myself. I can stop right there. Yeah. Stop being greedy. Getting rid of that step is part of the final thinning. But I can wait. Yeah. There is another area I need to try to thin first though. So I can call it good on this stage. Yeah. All right, let's see. Oh, they didn't travel far enough. It's okay. Can I get it? I'm trying to get into that steppy area in the middle. That very typical steppy area that many points have. Yes. All right. There we go. Now I can rest. Secondary thinning done. The only thing that's hanging out there that looks not too good is the step fracture there. But it's not really a step. It's a hinge because there's no incomplete flake at the end. It popped out, but it's an abrupt pop out. So you call that a hinge, not a step. A step has a broken part that still has some of the crack going underneath. If you know what I mean? This one doesn't have any incomplete cracking. It popped out in an abrupt way. So when it pops out in an abrupt way, it's called a hinge, not a step. Okay, so there's a hinge there. That's part of the final finishing as far as cosmetics go. For being useful, I can sharpen it and it's a useful blade as it is. Just with this thinning, with these contours, it's useful. Okay, so what's the ratio and what's the length and width? The final length, 4 inches exactly. Yeah. In the width, 2 and something, like 2 1/8. Yeah, 2 1/8 inch wide. 2x4 is good. The translucency is good. Yeah. You can see there's a little bit of more translucency in some areas. I think that might just be the thinner areas, but it could also be a crystal pocket area. But I think that's just the thinness of the material right there. That's one of the last flakes that I did. Yeah. So I like the translucency. Yeah. Ratio, I'll do it in millimeters. The widest part, I measure across the widest part of this point. It's 52. And then I measure the thickness at the widest part by 8. 52 by 8 is a little bit better than 6:1. 8 millimeters thick by 52 wide is about 6:1, a little bit better. Right? 52 by 8. I like it. And it's nice material. I'm surprised. Yes, I am. For rock that I got for free, this is excellent. Yeah. All right, where am I? Let's see. There I am. I like it. I'm very happy with this. I think I'm going to make a Montel out of this one. Yeah. Montels a lot of times have the ratio of 8:1, but I'm not going to push my luck. I might be able to get down to 7:1 when I start working on the stem. I think it'll cooperate and be able to be thinned down to 7:1. Yeah, keeping the same width. I was very lucky on that last strike here. That cleared out a lot of flakeriness that I didn't like. And then this side, even though this one ended up in a hinge, I do like that flake too. It cleared out a bunch of flakeriness. Everything else looks okay too. Yeah. There's not a whole lot of flakes on the surface. Now, when I finish this out, most of my pressure flaking will be the upper third of the blade. And I won't do too much pressure flaking on the sides except to sharpen it. And the notching. That's where most of the pressure flaking is going to take place, right here on the stem and the tip. On artifacts, a lot of times you'll see that it's not even sharpened on the sides here. It's just flaked. And sometimes you can even see dull spots where they abraded it. But they do sharpen the upper third at a minimum. And then you'll see pressure flaking on the base and stem. Okay. This is a Texas point, archaic styles that I'm very familiar with. Okay, let's see. Where am I at on the chat? Okay. My eyes are tired. I've been napping all day. Ed Gould, what are you talking about? There's a bunch of poop emojis all the way down on the comment section. Patrick, is 8106 in the auction KRF? One of the arrowheads in the matched set is KRF. Yeah. Let me see. Let's see. 06. Yeah, one of those is KRF. The other is Texas Chert. Okay. So yes, on AI06, one of them is KRF or Knife River Flint. All right, let me see. I gotta empty out my shoes. Hold on. It's almost time to go. Well, I'll stay over a few minutes. I'm gonna look at the chat. If you have questions, please ask them now before I sign off. I'm gonna sign off here in a minute, or maybe 10 minutes. Ken says, "Oh dang, I missed the nap. Oh well, hope it was a good one. Yeah, just rewatch it. I napped this one from a piece like this. It was a rock to biface, and actually this is finished as far as the first and second stage thinning. Right, I went from this to the biface. Before that, it was the spalling session, right? So I guess you can call that a phase when you spall off these chunks. So at first you do the spalling, the big chunks. I suppose that would be phase 0. Then the first stage is the biface, where you try to maximize what you've got, and you get a bunch of crud flakes after the initial spalling. Sometimes you can get good flakes off of the preliminary thinning, like a Livestream flake, like this one here. This came off after I did the initial bifacing. It was one of the first flakes from the primary or preliminary thinning. I don't know, but this is a Livestream flake. It came off the whole piece. Not the whole piece. It came off the biface. So then you do the secondary thinning after the preliminary thinning. And sometimes you can get big flakes that can be used. But normally in the secondary thinning, you get these flakes that are really, really thin like that. So you can't use them for much except for butchering or skinning or whatever. Yeah, so I still got to thin out. Where is this? But that's like the cosmetic final finishing aspect. It goes along with sharpening and shaping the tip. You know, the upper third, I spend some time pressure flaking and thinning the upper third. And then, of course, the stem, whatever you put on it. Now, some blades don't have stems. Those are the easiest. I like those the best. When they don't have stems, it's just rounded like this. I'll just haft it into a piece of wood with glue. Yeah, that's it. Works good that way. All righty. Mm-hmm. Gary says, how do you go 2 hours without a pee break? Because I had 2 hours or 2 pee breaks while watching it. I don't know. I make sure that I take a break before I start the live stream. That's one of my preliminary preparations. Preliminary preparation prevents piss poor performance. Yeah. How you getting along, Patrick? Says Ed. I'm getting along pretty good now that you're not posting those poop emojis. Let's see. Ken says, I'm definitely rewatching it. I love it when you break down whole nodules. Yeah, it seems to be a popular thing. Other people like it too. So on the next live stream, Wednesday, yeah, I'm going to be napping this down into a biface and hopefully get down to this stage as well on this one. Okay. And I've got 2 more buckets of these roughly. So I can do a bunch, but I want to do these on the regular videos because you can't see that much during a live stream. Yeah. And I didn't goof around too much on this one because I didn't want to break it. Normally I goof around and make fun of people while I'm napping on a live stream, but this time I didn't, I don't think. You make fun of people when you're napping? Yeah, and you guys knew? If you don't know, you don't know me don't too well. Let's see. Ed was pooping on himself with the emojis, says Alan. Ed Gould says, that was a bunch of poop. And you've got, why do you have purple poop emojis? Or is that some sort of difference? I don't know. Gary says, shit happens. Yeah, it does. Got to make doo-doo right there. Got to make doo-doo with what you got. Is that what that reference was for? All those poop emojis? Hey, Cheese Wagon is here. Hello, fellow flakers. You came in 3 minutes before the end of the live stream and said, hey, everybody, how's it going, everybody? I made it. Made it by the skin of my teeth. Yeah, just barely made it. You guys are funny. What do you mean? It's over now? Yeah, it's over. I'm just sitting here waiting for people to come in after it's over. Yeah. Ken says, I just woke up like 5 minutes ago. You woke up about 5 minutes? Who sleeps at this hour? This is not sleeping hours. Yeah. If I sleep at this hour or like before, like an hour before this, I'm up until 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. I can't sleep this late. Anyways, it's 5 p.m. over there. Okay, I got you. It was around 3 p.m. when I laid down. Okay, well, that's more reasonable, I suppose. Yeah. You must live on the West Coast. In California. Mac Bale says, I'll send Ed a corporate light. Yes, yes. Buckskin Marty says, Patrick, did you see those knives and point I posted on the community page? Well, If you did it while it was on the live stream, I did not see it. Let's check. Let's take a look. Let's see if I did see it. Because if I put a like on it, I mean, if the little thing is filled in, no, I didn't see it yet. Okay, so here they are. Marty put in these knives. Looks like blue, some kind of blue wrapping on it. Or did you paint that? A point and 2 neck knives I made today. So did you paint that blue? Is that blue painted sinew? Or is it artificial sinew? So no, I hadn't seen those yet. You posted it during a live stream. You cheated. Okay. Jeremy posted something. Biface out of what I call Buck Creek Black, but there's no picture. Found me a good source of this material. P.S. I found it in central Kentucky. If anyone knows the true name, let me know. Buck Creek Black? Yeah, you got to post a picture, though. I don't see no picture, just words. And then there's Marty's post. And then there's, what is it, Jeremy? What am I doing wrong? Didn't have any trouble. Let's say this. I didn't have any trouble with the other biface. I need help. It could be the rock. It could be that this rock is stupid. Rocks have IQs, okay? The IQ on this rock might be pretty low. Yep. That's what it is. That's what it looks like. Either that's really stubborn. It's really stubborn. It looks like. Yeah. Nothing wrong. I don't think you did anything wrong with that one. Hey, Mike Mason has a little glass point. Let's see. What do you do? Hey, there it is. Yeah. It will kill. Let's put a little like on this one. See, I'll fill in that little thumbs up. When it's filled in, that means I've seen it. For me, when I look at this. Let's see. Harvey says, it is a useful skill and boys should have skills like this. Yep. Do the like. What else we got? Just one of those days, says Mike Mason. Welcome. Welcome. The more you do, the more that becomes you several days in your life. Yeah. There it goes. There's another one. Welcome to multiple break day. Okay, what is this? I had a bullseye. It had a bullseye, Jeremy. I don't see no bullseye. That's nasty looking rock. That looks like rhyolite. Dang. All right, so what is this? Jeremy, not sure the exact name of church, but I call it Buck Creek. Oh, okay, this is Buck Creek Black. That looks like a very difficult material to nap. It's nice and sharp. All right. What do we got here? Haven't seen all these. Let's see. Jim Maine, the same point sure looks different on a different background. Jefferson City, Cahokia. All righty, let's hit the like button on that. So I know that I've seen it. Okay, I've seen this one now. Yep. Ferdo Joe or Bushy. Okay, let's see. All right, everyone say goodnight. I'm going to sign off here in a minute. Ken says, I'm going to try those Lucky Buddha beer bottles or Lucky Buddha. Bushy says the game started late. Mike Tufts is here. Hello, everybody. You made it just in time for the ending, Mike. Mike Tufts says, I just woke up from a nap. It seems to be a common thing. JJ, hello, I'm back again. Welcome to the Twilight Zone. After this live stream's over, we're now in the Twilight Zone. And some guys, they show up in the Twilight Zone. And that's you, JJ, right? Or unless you've been lurking the whole time. Let's see. Mac Bill says, Flintnapping puts a whole new message on. Take a break. Good night, all. Gary says, good show tonight, Patrick. Oh, I'm glad you think so. Let's see. Mike Tuff says, I'm drinking coffee right now. My hours are screwed up. Yeah, drink plenty of coffee for sure. If you just woke up, man. Ken says, same. I wasn't feeling well either earlier. Anyways, good night, guys, says Ken. Yep, good night. JJ says, Twilight Zone? Are you Dracula? No, the live stream is already over. I should have signed off at 8 p.m. Eastern time. It's now 8:07 or 8:08 Eastern time. So after the live stream is over or supposed to be over, it's the Twilight Zone. And a lot of the guys, I've noticed, not a lot, but there's some people that show up during the Twilight Zone. It's where I'm not supposed to be talking right now. It's supposed to be the end of the live stream. Bushy says, good night, Rod Sterling. I wish. Let's see. My eyes are sore. Let me put my glasses on. So if there's no more questions and no one else shows up, I'm going to sign off. Martin Hill. Tar, all. Another wonderful adventure. Have you been lurking, Martin? Martin, you're from the UK, right? I'm trying to get everybody straight. It's going to take me a while. Let's see. Ed is talking about making a bopper. Okay. Keep whacking. We don't mind. Keep yakking. We don't mind, says Gary. Yeah, but I've got to watch the auction. I haven't even hit the like buttons on any of the recent bids. So I've got to make sure I'm seeing all the bids, all the comments and replies. Same thing. All right, let me just scan through here and make sure I'm seeing everybody's stuff. Clint Evans says, good night, nappers. Oh, there you go. There's a sensible comment. Because he knows when it's over. Martin Hill says, yes, lurking from Oz down under. Oh, you're from Australia. Dang. Okay. I don't know. I'll try to remember that. So Australia. Martin's from Australia. Let's see. Gary says, last I looked, the bifaces were 75. What's that mean? You're not talking to me, supposedly. I suppose. If anybody here chats with Ed, give him my email. Okay. I think I have Ed Gould's email. Let me write that down because I will not remember. So give Ed Mike Tuff's email. Okay. Hold on. Anything else? I'm going to give Ed your email, Mike. Zero. What you selling? I've got an auction going on my channel. Just look for the auction video. It's auction 8i. You can type in Jack Crafty space auction space 8 capital I. Auction 8i. And you should see the thumbnail looks like this. And it's called auction 8i. It's currently going, right? At 9 o'clock, I'm going to announce the winners, and you bid in the comment section. You watch the video to see the items for sale. Okay. And then you bid in the comment section by replying or commenting underneath comments that I had put in with the item numbers. You find the item number that you want and you reply to that. The item number is in the comment that I put in there. So, for example, this is the auction comment section. I put in these comments that have the item number. I put in these comments here, like 8I02. I wrote that in there. Now, people are commenting under that with their bids for that particular item. You go back. Let's see if I can do this. And you can see the other. No, let's see. If you go back, you can see the other items like 1, 2, 3, all the way to 7. I think I have 7 items for sale. And you reply. You can reply by hitting this little thing. Where is it? No? Yeah. You can see people that have bid on it. Their bids are in the form of comments. And I'm going to hit the like on these so that people know that I've seen the bids. Okay. That's how it works. And at 9 o'clock Eastern, I announce the winners, whoever got the highest bid. Okay. Zero says, you can't sell those. Those are mine. Great grandpa's moon wind. What is that? Let's see. JK, these are cool. Awesome. I'm glad you can see them. JJ says, does anybody know Fred Firestone? What is that supposed to mean? Let's see. I don't understand that. Alan says, I think Ralph will give Mason my contact info. Okay. He thinks they're old, says Ed Gould. Tomlinson, M. Tomlinson, Flintstone. Okay. Instead of Fred Firestone, it's Flintstone. Does anybody know Fred Flintstone? Zero says, where did you find those? I didn't find them. I made them. Okay. I make them. You missed the part where I was flintnapping during this live stream. I made this just now today. So I make flint-napped items. Tomlinson, I missed all your information last night. And Zero says, okay. All right, so I'm going to sign off if there's no more questions. We're currently in the Twilight Zone. I can't stay too long in the Twilight Zone. So, yeah, I don't see any more questions. Good to see everybody. Lots of people showed up today. Okay. Yeah, thanks for participating. Thanks for the super chats. Thank you very much. If you don't know what a super chat is, don't worry about it. JJ says, do you make arrows from this? I can make arrows with my stone points, yeah. See you guys Wednesday. Yeah, next live stream is Wednesday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern time. 2-hour live stream. I chat the first hour and I nap on the second hour. And I have another live stream Fridays. So 3 times a week I have these live streams. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And you can see the schedule in the comment section, or I'll put it somewhere, or maybe in the description. But usually just type in Jack Crafty live stream and it'll come up with one of my live stream videos. And then you can see the scheduling probably in the comment section or the description box of that live stream. Okay. Yeah. Take care, everybody. Ed Gould says there might be a Knapping in Colorado. Hopefully soon. Yeah. Give me the information. I'll advertise it. All right. We'll see you later, guys. We'll see you on Wednesday, if not sooner. Probably not sooner. I try not to do the videos and the napping other than the live streams until Saturday or Sunday. Yeah. I do other types of videos besides the auctions and the live streams. Okay. I think that's it. Good night. Good night. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.